So I read an article that you wrote where you said that your classical training started at the age of 3, and by 4 you were completely in it, practicing 6 to 7 hours a day,
Yeah.
and you were taught by your mom, right? And obviously we have not been trained, but it is supposed to be very very rigorous,
Yes.
right? So can you just tell us about those formative years, like in your childhood? What is that like?
So I think in a family which teaches the classical arts, it could be it is rigorous. It is strict. This concept of pyar, dular, and all of that doesn't exist as long as my observations are concerned. I've seen a lot of the doins of Carnatic classical music. I was exposed to my grandfather for a short period. He is a Padma Bhushan and an MD and a Sangeeta Kalanidhi. He, I think, also was a polymath.
Okay.
I mean, he was an achiever in whatever he touched. And when you think grandfather, what would you think? Oh, this really lovely person with whom you can go and play. I was terrified. Everybody in the house was terrified of him. So that's when you realize that I think this automatic, this tanu that people talk about in Telugu, especially with regard to children, I never saw that in him.
Okay.
Um, and maybe, I mean, on the intellectual aspect of it, I've heard that he's a genius and all of that. And somewhere I think I've seen that with other such vidwans who decided that they were no longer going to be this loving parent.
Mm.
One would rather be the strict taskmaster that the child would be terrified about on a daily basis. So I found my mother character in my grandmother.
Okay.
So my mother was my guru, and yeah, 7 hours, 8 hours, sit in the same place. Even if I peed, I would get up, clean up the pee, and then sit and still continue to practice. So that's how it sounds horrific. Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And
Did you enjoy it? Like,
no, I was extremely terrified at the time because
okay.
fear was
Okay.
um, more. I think sometimes as I grew up, I think I definitely did like it.
And also, when you're a child and like you learned from your mom, that is kind of rare because I think in Indian classical music, there are a few examples. Like I think Zakir Hussain learned from his father.
Father.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. Did you?
Most of the people that you see as legendary today
Uh-huh.
have learned from their parent first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Hariharan
Okay.
sir, Rahman sir, all of them. Their first guru would be their parent, and beyond a point, sometimes there will be some people who say that I think my child will not listen to me.
Okay.
Therefore, I will send them to a third person,
Correct.
and things like that. So at some point, I think the even otherwise, right, in a classical music setting, and if it was a performing musician, music and the sangat and the kind of people that who would be your people that that you would hang out with, the people who would call you would call home. And those times, I think musicians were friends with each other, and if they were performing in their village or town or city, they will go and stay in their houses. They will be discussing music, this raga, that varnam, this kriti, this performance, that pallavi, this tala, how to perform this. So eventually, whether you're consciously learning things or not, this is constantly coming into your subconscious. You're listening
Okay.
to this is while you're playing, while you're eating, while you're sleeping. So I think that's where the edge happens from somebody who comes from a background of, say, music or any other craft or art form or even medicine, I would say. Because you're constantly listening to this, and there is a subconscious learning that's happening, which may put you on an edge over somebody else, in my opinion. So I think every legendary musician that you see today has learned from their parent. It's come from the family, and very rarely, beyond a point, they would go to other gurus to hone their skills or to add to their resume, so to say, or their learning aspects. Yeah.